Hey guys, and welcome back. This is Valerius Bellum. Today we're going to be going over kit that a standard person should be using in a Milsim. So as you can see right here, I have my assault class and I have my M16A4 out. The reason I have an M16A4 is, well, one, everyone kind of universally agrees it's allowed, but two, it kind of does a better job of demonstrating the actual performance of an M4 over that of an M16, because obviously M16s aren't really used widespread in deployments right now. They are still technically on the Army's official weapon list, so you could use it. It's just going to be really rare, and it's going to be by special request only, and even then it's still going to be a hard sell. So you can see the attachments: a Trigicon ACOG, pretty standard; heavy barrel, pretty standard. You can take that off if you want; and under grip, vertical grip. So now we're getting into the pistol here. Now this is something that most people won't see. It's a compact 45. The reason that we use this is because I am running a SOCOM assault class. So SOCOM is Special Operations Command. Essentially this is the Mark 23 used by SOCOM, and I'm going to leave a link down in the description below that kind of goes over the overview of it using a Forgotten Weapons video. So moving on, you have your defibrillator, pretty standard. This is obviously a SOCOM medic. First aid pack, I like the pack over the bag because you can throw it and you can heal someone while not staying stationary. M18 smoke, just kind of preference. You can use a frag if you want. Bayonet, knives are pretty, you can pretty much run whatever knife you want actually in the military. You just got to be approved by your unit commander. So moving on, we have the engineer class. So running an M4 because M16 isn't on here, so we got to use it. As you can see, it's pretty standard stuff still. The ACOG, heavy barrel. Accessory, I'm going to put on a PEC 15 here real quick. And you can see a bipod. Now the bipod is something that's a little more controversial, but we're going to break down and get into that here. I have a screenshot that's going to kind of more or less break it down more, and I'll link the actual file in the description below as well. But essentially from the photo that's going to pop up now, you can see where it says here, hey, it is, what is it here? It is 4-15, I believe. It says these devices are authorized by, on a need by small unit. So basically that means if you are a unit commander, you can tell your guys if they can and can't use it if they request it. Moving on, you have the P226. This is the M17 pistol. We use this to represent that. The M9 isn't used by the Army anymore. It's still used technically by the Marines, but the Marines also adopted the M18 pistol, which you can see here. This is a screenshot taken from SIG's website. They're pretty proud of their acquisition of the contract by the armed forces. As you can see, the first stanza here says, chosen as the official sidearm of all branches of the U.S. military, and they're talking about the M17 there. Moving on, you got a Stinger, pretty standard stuff. This is obviously my AA setup, but I also have the repair tool instead of a mine, which means I'm doing some vehicle repairs, so I'm assisting an air wing. 11 Charlies that run Stingers in real life are also attached to air wings and need access to the radar, so that way we're not downing friendly birds. Hand flare, so that way I can stop the usage of thermals. Bipod, again, pretty standard. Anti-tank stuff. So back to the usage of thermals, by the way. So those flares can actually be used to counter infantry thermals as well. So 249, I'm a saw gunner. Pretty standard stuff. You should see this in a lot of your Milsims as well. P226 is what I decided to run again. Ammo box, M24 mortar, M224 mortar, my apologies. And along with the mortar system, we hear a lot of controversy around, can you be a saw gunner and a mortar operator? The answer is yes, and I'm going to break that down here in a second. As well as you hear some controversies about using the UCAV. The UCAV is another thing where yes, you can use it. It's the AeroVironment Switchblade, which is something I'm going to link down in the description below as well. Same thing with the documents for the M224 mortar you're going to hear. I'm going to have a few screenshots on the screen. So right here, these are some testimonies from a document that I'll also link in the description below that go over carrying and carrying loads in the U.S. Army. Some studies that have been done by the Army as well as other independent agencies. This is a .mil document, as all my documents are, so they're federal documents, but for public release. Here's some more data tables on the weapons load through history. This will obviously, like I said, be in the description below. The file will be. And then this breaks down more the actual individual carry weights. As you see in the table below, it goes over in kilograms what all that is. That's over a few hundred, or not a few hundred, it's over 100 pounds though. And And then this is another screenshot that a lot of people will say kind of defeats what I was talking about earlier, where you can see it's got 3 individual mortarman sections for weight. That doesn't actually defeat what I was talking about, because right here is a file I have on actual mortar systems. At the very bottom you see carry options. It says 1-man carry, so that is doable. So moving on here, we have the M98B. This is a Barrett MRAD in real life. It's a newly adopted weapon by the US Army. Originally we were using it to represent the Remington 700 MSR. So as you can see here, I got a 6x optic. For those of you that don't know much about optics, a 6x minimal zoom optic is actually a very high power. Normally you'll see things of like 4 to 16 is pretty standard, 6 to 24 is pretty standard. So I'm using this with a 6 to 14 right now because that's the lowest I can go. Same thing with the muzzle brake. Getting a muzzle brake on a high caliber weapon is pretty standard. It's something that you can throw in if you choose to. It's just really for cosmetics. As well as you can see here, the paint is spray woodland. Snipers a lot of times do paint their weapons. Nicholas Irving is a perfect example about that. He talks about it all the time in his book. His attention to detail on how he paints his sniper is a huge thing. As well as you can see, I'm using a MAV. That's a big controversial thing too as well. You can use that or a SUAV though. Essentially, they're both UAS systems used by the military. It's really difficult to find stuff on quadcopter drones though, but I'm going to have a clip here of Jocko Wellings breaking that down. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's a Navy SEAL task unit leader.
Freeze this frame. The reason you haven't seen a drone like this before is because in terms of drone technology, this is ancient. These were very difficult to fly. I mean, nowadays they have little quadcopter drones that a 5-year-old could fly around if they wanted to. These were a lot harder to fly. You had to be a little bit more of a pilot to make them work. It didn't take very long for these types of drones to not be used by anyone.
So as you can see, he was kind of crapping on the UAS Raven, which is stuff I have information on above right now, with the endurance of 60 to 90 minutes compared to the 30 seconds to a minute or whatever it is on Battlefield 4. But the UAS Raven is actually still used. It's made by AeroVironment, and you can find plenty of documents from the government saying that, hey, yes, we do still use this. However, it is based on more dated technology, and you won't find any documents on the quadcopters, at least not that I've been able to find, but they are used. You can talk to a lot of veterans, they'll say the same thing. So guys, hopefully you learned something from watching this video. This is stuff that you can use in Milsim that you probably didn't know, or stuff that helped clarify for you. All of this is based on the fact that we have government documentation or high standing figures in the military community that can verify this. Example, Jocko Wellings. You have people like David Goggins and Nicholas Irving. David and Jocko are both ex-Navy SEALs, and Jocko is actually the task unit leader for the unit that Chris Kyle was in, which is someone that everyone knows. And Nicholas Irving is a less known guy. He's an Army sniper. Cool guy too. He's got some great books out. I'd recommend reading those. Jocko also has some really great books, and he's also a professional businessman, business consultant. But some other things I wanted to touch on that you probably didn't know you can use that I'm not really going to be covering in the majority of the rest of this video is things like the ACWR for an M4A1 stand-in. Because there isn't a full auto M4 in this game, we use something that's the same barrel length and similar shot pattern, which is the ACWR, to represent that. That's something you can use. Anyone that says otherwise doesn't know about trigger groups on guns or barrel lengths and so on and so forth, or shot patterns, so don't listen to them. Another thing you can use is the thermal optics and night vision optics on daytime maps. Now, most people don't like it. We limit our guys only to being in special forces to use them. The place where you'll see the proof for that is in the same document I have here that has the stuff for the bipod. You can see on their optics and what things are used. I have more documentation on thermals and night vision, but I'm not going to put that in the description below. You can do your own research on that. I'm just going to provide you with the government.mil document that explains how they're used. The M26 MASS is another example of a thing you probably didn't know you could use too. It is being adopted by the US military. I'm going to throw a link in the description from Task and Purpose that goes over that. But if you guys have any other video suggestions or anything else you want me to cover, or topics just in general, or comments and questions, put them in the comment section below. I do read it and I will respond. If it's a nasty comment, I'm not going to respond. So if you want an actual response, don't do that. All right, see you guys next time.